There was an article in New Scientist magazine last month, or maybe it was this month, about the teenage brain. I always like reading articles about the teenage brain because I have two teenage lads, and anything that helps me understand what they're up to is some kind of consolation, I guess. But this particular article was quite interesting. It was saying that, well, it's kind of building out of a series of recent findings that the brain of teenagers undergoes significant amounts of development. The brain isn't anything like fully formed when you reach teenagehood, apparently. There's all sorts of pruning and rewiring that goes on in your teen years, until the early 20s, I think. And this particular article was about theory of mind. And what it was suggesting was that that theory of mind, this intuitive grasp that all adults have, that other people have minds pretty much like their own, and you don't have to consciously think about it. It just kind of comes with the experience of another person. You see another person, you kind of recognise the presence of another mind unproblematically, kind of seamlessly. This article was saying that the development of that theory of mind proceeds through teen years. So a teenager does not have a fully formed theory of mind. And the particular aspect of that this article was about, which I found really interesting, was to do with point of view. Part of theory of mind is that you recognise that someone has a kind of worldview, a kind of way of being in the world, has a set of attitudes, beliefs, opinions, positions on various issues, those kind of things, which may be different to your own. And you might not agree with that, but you can kind of accept it. You kind of recognise it as valid somehow. The existence of other minds, once it's fully developed, kind of necessitates a recognition of the existence of differences in those minds, as well as the kind of similarities that all minds are pretty much alike. And as I say, this thing was to do with that viewpoint, but it didn't just talk about what do you say exactly? Well, it didn't just talk about a kind of conceptual point of view. It also said that recognition of another conceptual point of view is in kind of lockstep with the development of a physical point of view, recognition of physical points of view. There was experimental evidence to support this, which was, I can't remember the details of it, but it was there's little puzzles you had to solve. And in order to solve these kind of little visual puzzles, you had to imagine what this scenario looked like from a different physical position in space. And teenagers are less good at doing that than adults. And very small children are hopeless at it. They can't imagine another point of view, another physical position in space than the one that they're occupying at that moment. So they find it very difficult to imagine themselves into another point in space and imagine what the world would look like from another point of view, with a physical point of view. And as I say, teenagers also have something of difficulty in doing that, or are slower to do that. And the difficulty they have in doing that is correspondent with the difficulty they also have in seeing the world from another conceptual viewpoint. So when my teenage lads just kind of seem incapable of understanding where I'm coming from when I say, you need to make your bed, or how do you think I feel when I come home and you haven't put your Pepsi cans in the recycling, or something like that. I guess what I'm saying is they literally haven't. They don't know how I feel. They don't know where I stand on those things. They can't see the world from my point of view. It's physically impossible, or it's at least physically very difficult for them. And it's, as it would be physically very difficult for them to visualise the literal perspective on the world that another person has. I guess overall that whole idea, that complementarity between a physical viewpoint and a conceptual viewpoint, is again supportive of those ideas I've been kicking around quite a bit recently in these videos, to do with the inheriting of sensorimotor concepts, sensorimotor forms of cognition, ways of knowing that are completely of the body and its relationship to the world, the structures of those ways of knowing being borrowed by abstract and conceptual ways of knowing. So a physical viewpoint, the logic and maybe even some of the mental apparatus of understanding of the physical viewpoint seems to be mobilized to a greater or lesser extent in the understanding of the conceptual viewpoint.